Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first ep of our new web series called What's Next. Now, we're going to be talking to sporting stars, actors, media personalities, and basically anyone that has been successful in one industry and turned their hand to the hospitality sector. And I am very, very honoured to have our very first guest, the man who's pulled on that jersey right there 71 times, the try-scoring machine himself, Drew Mitchell. Drew, g'day.
No, mate. Thanks for having me, and it's an honour to be your first guest.
Oh, mate, I'm so stoked. I'll get the rugby stuff out of the way first. As you must be so excited that international rugby is back, and it must be bringing back some great memories going into camp nice and early. How do you think the Wallabies are going to go this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, it's great that we are going to be able to see and experience some international rugby this year. Obviously, with the year that has been, it's not always been a lock. The fact that we're going to be able to sit down and watch the Wallabies go up against the New Zealand All Blacks. So that in itself is great. I think the fact that there's Sunday afternoon games is just fantastic. A little bit of afternoon rugby. Get down to your local pub and just and support the boys. Will be
old school.
Yeah. And I think that old school sort of element mixed with a real new breed of Wallabies come through. Dave Rennie's picked his first squad. It's littered with players that haven't been able to pull on the green and gold jersey just yet. So plenty of guys will get their opportunity, but also a few older heads that have stuck around and earned their spot as well. So look, I think it'll be tough. I think New Zealand, again, they're probably going in as the form side. Especially having played that North versus South game, watching that was just incredible.
That was an amazing game, wasn't it?
Yeah, the depth that they've got is, just always. We always keep talking about it, but it never ceases to amaze us just how often they pick someone else off almost like the conveyor belt of the New Zealand rugby, development programs and that type of thing. So, look, they're probably in the box seat. But that being said, Dave Rennie's got the team over there in Christchurch early, obviously because of quarantine issues and things like that. But I think he'll have them firing. I saw just quickly. Brendan Paenga-Amosa, the hooker for the Queensland Reds, he said that when they checked into their room, each of the front rowers had an exercise bike in their hotel room, which he thought was slightly unfair, but also probably needed given the amount of ground they're going to have to cover against these All Blacks as well. So the big boys, even while they're sitting in their room, perhaps playing Fortnite or watching some TV, will be doing it while sitting on an exercise bike.
Fortnite, there you go. So I'm just learning all about Fortnite. I'm so far behind in all that business. You didn't have to do that, did you?
I know of it. I promise you I've never played it. So that's past me as well.
Well, there you go. So, as I've got you on this show, the branding's on the front of your rugby jersey just there. Let's talk about Backline Wines. I mean, you made the jump from rugby to working in the wine industry. A couple of your friends that a few people may know are with you on this journey. Tell us a little bit about Backline Wines.
Yeah, so it's I think for myself, Matt Giteau, Adam Ashley Cooper, the three boys that are involved in it. From a former player's point of view, we thought why are we spending so much on other people's wine when we can make our own and drink our own wine? But it really started when when each of us went over to play in France. Matt played in Toulon, which is the Provence region, for 6 years. I played alongside him for 4 of those. And then Adam Ashley Cooper played in the Bordeaux region, so the red wine region of France, for 2 years as well. So when we got over there, we really immersed ourselves in that culture. When you sort of understand how much the wine means to the French and it's just their way of life. I mean, when we first got over there, we would go to training in the morning and we'd go for a team lunch and have training in the afternoon, but they would serve up rosé because Provence region's a rosé sort of area.
Yep.
And as Australians do, we drink to get drunk. And, so I would perhaps overindulge a little bit at lunch, then have to go to training. And I would look around and all the French just sort of sit there and sip and just, it was...
Soak it up and enjoy it. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like it was just part of their culture, is what they did, as opposed to us just seeing an opportunity and then perhaps overdoing it. But after a little while, you sort of understand, and you really just immerse yourself in the whole culture of the wine and what the way the French take to it. And just from that experience and those experiences that we had with teammates and friends and families and things like that, we wanted to bring that back home and, just for ourselves as well. And obviously I'm retired. I'm 3 years retired now. Adam and Matt are sort of in the throes of either going around again in the USA or pretty much retiring up here.
Yeah.
So the amount of times that we're on the road together, we're sharing those experiences in hotels and being on the road and having the opportunity to share a wine are certainly reduced from what they used to be. So we want to come up with a way and a project and a passion that that allows us to stay connected in that area, but also do something pretty cool and have something tangible as well, not just something that we speak about or whatever. That's something that we can taste, we can feel, we can drink, and we can have on our shelf. And so just through our time playing rugby, we met a few guys along the way, one being David Krenich, who was a director at LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. So he was, again, sort of, he knows the industry. The one thing for us is if the three of us boys went into it, Adam, Matt and myself, we would have made many costly and timely errors that we would have had to learn along the way. So partnering up with people like David Krenich and also effectively our coach of the business, which is Ben Riggs, of Riggs Wines. So again, just someone that knows the industry, knows what he does what he does really well.
The bushing king of McLaren Vale. There you go.
Yeah,
for those who know their wines.
Yeah, well, so we're really lucky to partner up with him, and we've been down to his vineyard down there and seen somewhat of the process that he goes through to make sure that he puts wine in a bottle that he's proud of, and that also that we're happy with, and and something that we'd like to put our label to. And then also I guess the addition to that is a girl by the name of Sam Sharp that does all our marketing and socials and that type of thing.
Yep.
Who, as an added bonus, is married to Nathan Sharp. So Sam used to work alongside David Krenich at LVMH as well. But so we also get, I guess there's a bit of a bonus. We get Nathan Sharp along with the Backline label because he spent most of his career in the Backline anyway. So we're used to having him around us.
We don't go into the forwards backs there, do we? Exactly.
Look, whilst it's called Backline Wines, we do appreciate any forwards that want to drink it as well. But that's pretty much the makeup of the business. And for us as well, I mean, we understand that sometimes when former athletes put their name to it, people just assume that it's just money-making exercise where you put your name and your money to it and then basically sort of be hands off. We wanted to make sure that wasn't the case for us. We're very hands-on with the running of the business and sort of getting out to different liquor stores and doing the tastings. And, we certainly don't cross over. We're not the winemakers. We're not the sort of once sometimes the conversations get too far for us in the business side, we hand them over to David Krenich because whilst we're still learning, we don't want to, again, cross the errors. But I think for us, it's transferring some of the things that we know from rugby into business, which is just owning what you do well, but also owning what you don't do particularly well. One thing that we're acclimatized to is just taking criticism and knowing where you sit and that type of thing, because our games were picked apart by commentators, social, journalists, everything like that. So our weaknesses were laid bare to everyone to see. So that's something that we're pretty okay with identifying within our business, is just saying, look, this is now at the point where it's beyond me. David, I need you to jump in and give us a hand and also teach me along the way so that I, in future, I don't have to sort of pass that off. I can actually
lean on you,
and understand the sort of the goings on of the industry, but also our business as well. So look, like anything, there's learnings that we're going through in terms of how to communicate with one another, and especially in the current climate where it's basically all through Zoom and we don't actually get as much as we'd like in terms of in-person conversation and meetings and that type of thing. But that being said, things are going pretty well, and we're hopefully getting out there and getting it to as many people as possible, because that's the point where we're at. We don't have a huge bucket to just of cash to spend on marketing and media and that type of thing. So we're really just trying to maximize the traction that we can get organically through our socials and that type of thing.
And that's the thing I was going to say too. Obviously, between the three of you, you guys played nearly 300 games together. You would have enjoyed quite a lot of wine over the time, I can imagine. And obviously, as you said, playing in France, I mean, that builds your wine. When you came back to Australia, did you notice a trend difference? But obviously, you were saying Australians, yes, sometimes do drink to get drunk. But did you notice a trend difference that when you left Australia to go to France to when you came back for the appreciation of wine?
Well, I mean, I certainly did for myself. I probably was. I mean, I drank wine before I went over, but I really grew to enjoy it, and really get a taste for it when I was over there. And certainly around the rosés, I think, especially with rosé in Australia, I think we kind of adopted the Provence style rosé in that, at least the expectation is the lighter the colour, the better the rosé. And that was certainly my sort of surface level understanding of rosé before I went over there. But then getting to know it over there, as well as going through the process with Ben Riggs, you kind of, it's a very sort of surface level understanding of it. And that was where I was at. I mean, you can still get a really dry, really nice dry rosé, but still with, some beautiful colour and flavour as well. And I think, in terms of trends and that type of thing, look, I just, to be honest, I wouldn't have been as advanced as I needed to be before I went away to kind of really understand when I did come back. But now when I go to restaurants and things like that, I know I certainly have a better understanding of what I like, tasting for what I like as well. When you sort of get it, you just sort of, before going to France, it was either do I like it, yes or no.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, yes, I like it because of these reasons, or no, I don't because of these ones as well. So,
and you just leave the business card on the table for Backline Wines and just let them know that there's a good option.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I guess that's probably the difficult part that we're understanding now with this pandemic is the uptake on premise is difficult because unfortunately through the industry, they haven't been able to sort of fill their restaurants and maximise their sort of floor space and have as many people in there as possible, which means most venues aren't necessarily extending their wine lists.
Yeah.
If anything, reducing it. So it's for that point, it's probably been difficult being a new brand coming through in this time to try and convince some venues to take us on. But it's like anything, we have to identify the new hurdles and things that we need to get over and just sort of grind it out and write it out and understand that this is something that will pass. Hopefully it passes sooner rather than later, but we just sort of got to stay in the fight so that when it does pass, that we're ready to take our spots on people's wine lists and in people's restaurants.
You mentioned the pandemic, and I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, that what you just mentioned was a big factor. But have you noticed anything else that apart from being able to get out there and apart from getting that brand in people's faces, have you noticed any change from the beginning of the year to now?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we first went into lockdown, there was probably a little bit of a novelty factor to it. I think we all kind of got a bit like, this is cool. I mean, not necessarily this is cool, but
I get what you're saying.
Like a once in a lifetime opportunity to not feel guilty about staying home and doing nothing, right? And then we saw all the dialogue on social media about drinking at home and all this sort of thing, and there was an uptake. There was an uptake online, and we were sort of we launched around sort of April, May. So it was in that sort of time where delivery, like alcohol delivery to your front doorstep, was something that was people were taking that up quite regularly. I think by now that novelty's worn off a little bit. People, for good reasons as well. People aren't drinking as much and as regularly at home. So there's probably been a bit of a decline in terms of the online uptake, in terms of numbers. But at the same time, unfortunately for all of us, that hasn't correlated in being able to go out and enjoy ourselves socially, at restaurants as much as we'd like, or with as many people as we'd like as well. So there's many trends that sort of are happening, coming and going. Unfortunately, it changes, pretty often along with the restrictions easing and then coming back and all that type of thing.
And they move the goalposts every day, so not sure what's happening.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard to really evaluate what's a win and what's not in the current climate. But effectively, what we need to do is just kind of keep for us trying to make people aware of our brand, and also understand that our core followers will probably most likely be the rugby followers.
The rugby fans, yeah.
How do we engage with them? How do we re-engage with them so that we try and get them to be, buyers that keep coming back, not just the sort of the one-offs, and we've got to find ways to re-engage and really sort of make them feel part of our backline, because look, we've always been really lucky and felt really fortunate to have their support through our rugby career, and for that to now filter through to our career in other industries and other ventures. Again, we're very lucky to have that support. So we want to make sure that they feel that they've, that support's been recognised, and it certainly is.
Have you noticed certain areas of the country get their wine more than other areas? Is it more the rugby states?
Yeah, for us it is at the moment.
Yeah.
For us it is at the moment, in terms of sort of just getting out there and getting that traction. Because I think as well, sometimes, like I was saying to you before, sometimes people would think that, 3 rugby players having a wine label is a bit of a gimmick. So, and maybe they're not that keen on rugby, which is completely fine as well. But what we sort of say, it's wine with character and characters with wine. So you can just share it with we can share it with friends and family and have a good laugh and a good chat while sharing one of our wines. Because the thing is as well, once people sort of understand, get to taste it, they realise that it's a wine that holds up on its own. Mr. Riggs doesn't, it doesn't release a wine that he's not proud of, and it doesn't hold itself against all the other sort of top wines in the industry, certainly at our paid price as well. So it's just about, for us, just trying to find other ways to get it in front of people, and then giving them the opportunity to taste it. And once they do, we often get that, this is really good, almost like they're expecting it to taste.
You get the shock, do you? You get the shock factor.
Which is in some ways, it's a bit of an endorsement, but also it's a little, hang on, what were you expecting? Which is kind of, which is also fine, because we've had that in our rugby careers as well. Like, Drew did that, or Matt Giteau could make that tackle, or whatever it might be. So look, it's completely fine with us, but we just want people to enjoy it, because that's effectively what it comes down to. We enjoyed our time. We enjoy our time still now, sharing a bottle of wine with one another, and we want other people to have that experience as well.
Well, you mentioned, let's go to Ben Riggs. I mean, he has won numerous awards, so well known in the wine industry. He's put together 47 vintages, which is, a masterclass in winemaking. Is that where you see Backline heading? Is that where you would love it to see? I mean, look, we know the Wallabies are looking for a new major sponsor. Could we see Backline Wines on the front of a Wallabies jersey?
I did throw that out there the day that Qantas pulled the pin. I said, look, I understand at Wallabies you have a bit of space on the front of your jersey. Like, put a few former players up and get us on the front, but it might be a little bit out of our price range at the moment, unless they want to go on the cheap. But look, we're not in it just for like a short term. We want to, and anything that we do, we want to try and do it as well as we can, and push for awards and things like that. So. Obviously knowing and understanding Ben Riggs' class and background, and the accolades that he's achieved throughout his career, we'd love to be a part of that. We'd love our wines to be a part of that, and we'd love to have a few little, those sort of the gold stickers marking some of the achievements of the wine at some point through, through this journey, of Backline Wines. It may not be our first vintage, it may not be our second, but it certainly is going to be something that we continually strive for, and hopefully we get to achieve at some point.
How has apart from liking wine and enjoying wine, how did you find going into those vineyards and, the suppliers and all, how did you find that eye opener, or all three of you for that matter?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty general knowledge and understanding of how things went. I think the scale of it really took us by surprise when we went down into Riggs's, into his vineyard, and just the setup that he had, and just sort of the process that it goes from the barrels and all from the moment it starts on the vineyard to where we get it, in our glass. It was, at every sort of turn and every corner, it really surprised us. But I think the thing that sort of I wouldn't say it sets Riggs apart, because I haven't sort of seen behind the scenes of anyone else, but the thing that really took me by surprise, and the thing that I really appreciated from from Ben Riggs's setup was just the amount of attention that he puts to the detail in it. And we talk about it in rugby kind of being the 1%ers, the things that a lot of people on the, who are watching on the TV probably wouldn't put a great deal of value or emphasis on, whether it be running lines off the ball in support, or, just that kick chase line, things like that would never make a highlight reel, but really, contribute to the success of the outcome. And I think those little things that Riggsy puts into his wine and just that the emphasis on all the little bits of detail along the way, him sort of identifying just the small little decisions he makes around some things, but how big the outcome could be in comparison if you didn't put that emphasis on. I think that's what kind of really intrigued us as well, because whilst we sort of we're guys that enjoyed the game but enjoyed we were still very much students of the game that really wanted to sort of understand why things worked and how things work with our running lines and what shoulder run and all that sort of stuff. So those small little parts in the winemaking process really intrigued us as well. So that was probably something that that was a takeaway from when we left Adelaide, that we didn't have beforehand. Certainly want to get down there again at some point when travel restrictions ease. I think Adelaide is certainly on the agenda for the three of us.
Won't be going overseas or anything like that, so may as well head to beautiful McLaren Vale.
Down there and I told Riggsy, I said, look, I don't know if you still do this or not, but I want to squash some grapes with my feet and get some between the toes. But he said, look, kind of not really, but we can get it done for you.
We can humour you. So tell us what wines you currently have out, and what the scope of those wines are.
Yeah, sure. So we've got first one's our Shiraz, our Block Raiders Shiraz. It's Longhorn Creek, McLaren Vale sort of Shiraz, and so Block Raiders was a go-to play of ours, one that the three of us boys were heavily involved in, and one that we'd scored a number of tries off, luckily, with just that combination that we had on the field and the understanding, again, to those little parts of the detail that open up lines for each of us.
And don't tell me you don't know which one of you got on the end of it the most. You or Adam?
I mean, to be honest, probably me, because Adam played the 13 role, so he played that coming back, which kind of opened it up for me on the inside of the 12, which is usually gets as well. So but I couldn't have got through if those boys. If those boys didn't do the work. Cliche credit to the boys, but and then we've got the Cabernet blend, which is the closest thing to a Bordeaux red for us. It's called the Giteau, which is I do in France, in French. So Adam got married in Bordeaux to his beautiful wife Anna. I was a celebrant at that ceremony, and obviously Matt was there in attendance as well. So he just wanted to sort of pay homage to his time spent over in Bordeaux. Obviously, his nuptials being a real milestone for him and his wife out there. So wanted to do that. Then we've got the rosé, which is called the Pilu Pilu.
It's absolutely beautiful. I love that one. Yeah.
So this one was for an opportunity for myself and Matt to pay homage to our time in Toulon. So the Pilu Pilu was the war cry, the chant that our team and our stadium and a really sort of fanatical fan that had face tattoos and whatever would lead it on the sideline of our games just as we ran on. And it was one of those things where it was just, the hairs on the back of your neck sort of stand up. And speaking to players, and even Adam, when he came to play against us in Toulon, it said it many players say that it has, quite a profound impact on them before they start. It's because whilst our home ground was a small ground, which only sort of held 17 to 18,000 people.
A very European home ground for those that haven't been there yet.
Yeah. The way it sort of, they piled on you and whatnot, and the sound that we could create in that moment was really sort of intimidating to a degree. So it was just, again, it was an opportunity for us to sort of pay homage to our time in Toulon. And we were a little bit worried at first to see whether they would be upset with us using the term Pilu Pilu. But in actual fact, they've called us and said thank you so much, and they're really honoured that that we loved our time so much that we wanted to do that. And so much so, they've sent us some footage of the Pilu Pilu that we'll use in our marketing.
Oh, awesome! That's amazing. Yeah. And the logo obviously is nice, clean. on the bottle as well. Was that like, obviously you could have gone one or two ways where you could have gone and made it, green and gold or something like that, but you've gone with the blue. It's, straight, it's clean.
Yeah, we just, to be honest, so when we're down in Adelaide, on this particular occasion, Adam and I just went into the label makers, Woods Cannon, down there in Adelaide, and we just sort of said, look, we want it clean. We obviously wanted sort of gold, but not like, like a real sort of like metallic gold. And we just sort of went through the process really. And if you get the bottles up close, which obviously all the viewers will at some point, like embossed on the label is an actual backline play, using sort of the circles and the lines that we would have on a whiteboard going into a game saying, this 13 position or whatever. So every part of the label and the detailing was, we really wanted to make it look and feel like us, but also not be sort of too much footy and too much sort of in your face as well. Which sort
because
of
there will be those people that, as you said, don't like, or sorry, didn't know you guys as footy players, more know you guys now as wine connoisseurs.
Well, get in there. And we also kind of want to make it a little bit different. Obviously, there's so many different, there's so many white labels on bottles, and sort of, and we didn't want to sort of go down that road. We obviously had a look at that, but we just sort of, we all just fell on this one and really liked that. And then that takes us to our most recent marquee signing. As you mentioned before, we've almost achieved 300 tests between us. I let us down on that by the most. I'm the one with 71, sorry, but this is called the 295.
Yeah.
It's sort of, it's a label that's embossed and sort of has that sort of that tangible feel of the backline, the 295. So 295 is the amount of games that the three of us have played together. It's a limited. This one's a limited edition. So there's only 1,063 bottles available, which is the amount of points that the three of us have scored together.
I do like that, how you've involved all your numbers and everything like that.
We just wanted to make sure that like there was a story behind each of the labels and the names, and so it just wasn't something that sort of sat on the shelf and that was it. Like there was something we could talk to and people could kind of understand. And each of these stories I've told, there's footage of it, either me marrying Adam at his wedding, or if it was us scoring those tries or whatever it might be. There's footage and there's something that you can watch that is attached to each of those names and labels as well.
And I touched on it as we head towards the end of this. I touched on it earlier. Would you like to see the ARU or Rugby Australia now? I'm still in the old school ARU. Yeah. Would you like to see them sort of become more involved in this, or even the franchises? Do you think it's something that the rugby community as a whole could really get behind? Because it's part of their own. Everyone's supporting it.
Look, we'd hope to. Obviously, there's some sort of difficulties around that. Like, we've already had to take down photos of ourselves in the jerseys because Rugby Australia is sponsored by Taylor Wines. We've had to, for those on our socials and on our website, we've had to Photoshop out the logos of the Wallabies, which is unfortunate given that, like when you represent them, you want to actually be able to use photos of yourself. But we also understand the sort of legalities of it and all that sort of thing. Yeah. But at some point, sure, if we grow to a point where we've earned the right to be on that jersey, then certainly, much like when we played the game, we don't want it to be given to us. Whilst it would be a great opportunity to be on the jersey, it's not going to happen unless we can kind of fulfill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, if we grow, and that's our intention, is to grow the business to, as big as it can get. But once we've earned the right and we deserve the opportunity to be on that jersey, then we would love to be, obviously, have it, in some small way, have a different way of being back in the jersey as well. So that's something we'd like to get around. Whether it be it might be at a Super Rugby level first, or it might even be Shoot Shield or local club level as well. But the thing is, again, we want to. We understand that our biggest following is probably going to be in that rugby, the supporter space.
Yep.
And we feel that they know that we appreciate their support, and we always have, and we appreciate their continued support now that we're in this Backline Wines venture, and hopefully they can grow with us as well and sort of be here at the start. It's very early doors for us at the moment, but like you say, the intention for us is to get to a point where we can start being, on the, I mean, it'd be fantastic if that jersey behind you on the wall, instead of having Vodafone.
Backline Wine, yeah.
I mean, that's something for us to aim towards. I mean, we're obviously really sort of goal-driven type of guys when we play, and perhaps that's going to be a goal of ours at some point to one day be on the jersey of the Wallabies.
So finally, tell me, how can people get in touch with you guys through your socials and your websites, and how can they order it? How can they get Backline Wines into their homes?
Yeah, so right now, obviously, our socials on Instagram is Backline Wines, and then you can order anything that you like.
Sorry to interrupt. We will actually put all the links as well, all down the bottom and all this business.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and you can go to our website to get any of our range, which I believe is just down here, backlinewines.com.au. And you can get, like I say, anything hang on, I'll go again now. I stumbled through that. You can cut that up.
No, it's good. Yep.
No, I mean, our entire range is available on backlinewines.com.au, so you can get all our wines there. You can get some selected bottles on Amazon as well, amazon.com.au. And then also we're starting to get find our way into different, bottle shops and liquor stores around as well. So just have to duck in and have a look out for those, because that's a growing space for us. We're trying to get into as many as we possibly can. So, it'd be remiss of me to say it now, because hopefully by the time this goes to air, there's even more that are available. So just pop your head in and ask for Backline Wines, and if they don't have it, then hopefully we get in there soon.
Oh, mate, that is awesome. So thank you so much for doing this. I hope you guys get a lot out of this, and I hope everyone that gets to view this gets the same and gets Backline Wines in their home, enjoys it over a dinner as well, and or as you said, a midday lunch before training. But no, thank you very much, mate, and we'll definitely chat soon.
No worries, mate. Thanks very much for having me.
No worries, mate.